Hello, I'm Benoit Mortier from OpenSite. We specialize in identity management, and we also publish FusionDirectory, a tool to manage your LDAP server. And here in this short presentation, I will talk about how we have used that to improve the management of the OW2 infrastructure. So that's the little plan. I will talk about the infrastructure, history, new infrastructure, accomplishment, and what we want to do in the future. So at start, like many organizations, OW2 has a lot of application to manage, lots of accounts, to manage lots of people, to manage lots of projects. So they have all those kind of application that should connect to some source of credentials to let people go in. So you can see you have GeForce, XWiki, Nicus, Bamboo and Fisheye are replaced by GitLab CI, then Jira, Simpa, Sonar, Photology, and OpenStack. I don't know how OpenStack connect today, but that should be interesting. So in the past history, like most of place, it was a mix of database and stuff. So they have a XWiki website, because XWiki is the center of nearly everything around users and web page and everything in OW2. So at start, people were registering to the XWiki website, to the MySQL database through PHP script. People were using phpMyAdmin to make user management. That's really awful, because when you know phpMyAdmin, touching your database by hand to change user credential and stuff like that, it's really difficult, and you cannot give that to some people not knowing how to do it. The user database was then synchronized to an LDAP server, where some of the application were getting the credential. And of course, the classical topic, you will having some data about user in this MySQL database, some data on this LDAP server, and maybe some other stuff somewhere else. So when you want to show something, you have to go to the database, to the LDAP server, and to your other application that have local accounts. So it's very difficult not to miss something. It's very difficult to deactivate one account really fast. And as always, you can say that 6 months after trying to remove something, but it's still there, because nobody knows that, oh, there is an application somewhere where, yeah, there's still data with passwords and stuff like that. That's really a difficult topic. So, in 2016, we meet with the OW2 guys, and they were looking at some tool to manage the whole infrastructure from one interface, and only one. And then we discussed, and then they agreed to use FusionDirectory for that. And for that, one of the biggest work at first was to map the actual data from OW2 to an LDAP server. For that, Clément was doing most of the work before we came into the picture, and then we completed with the help of Martin. And then after that, the challenge is to map correctly the business way of working to the tool, to make it useful for people trying to use it. But you don't have to change the tool to make it work for this particular case. So the real difficulties in most of this challenge is to map the data and still have the tool you use useful for everybody. So you can have a tool, and the tool can evolve and everything. You don't have to redo the same stuff year after year after year. So some plugins were made specifically for the OW2 infrastructure that goes inside the FusionDirectory project. So that's just to show you a little bit of the interface. everything is installed here, but it's web software with a plugin system, so you can install only the part you need. On the one from OW2, you have only user groups, role, community, newsletter, and that's all, mainly. And then that's, from the user point of view, some of the nice functionalities. Effectively, you can create user group roles, you can create functional mail alias, you have classical password management or p-policy management if you want your LDAP server to do the password management. User template, the one functionality that every Active Directory system administrator wants directly. I can have templates to make my user. I don't have to click 10 times anymore. No, you can have templates and then create user from template. Bulk import, copy paste, snapshot. Snapshot is really useful. You can create an instant copy of your object, store it into the LDAP, make a modification, and restore your object. So you have some kind of, oh, I've made a mistake, I have to restore my object. Click, restore, you have your object back. So that's very, very rapidly because it has tons and tons of functionality, functional usage. So the accomplishment as of today, user and project are inside the LDAP server. The registration of new user is done classically through XWiki, but it's talked to the FusionDirectory web services and create the user through FusionDirectory directly into the LDAP. So for the user, it's transparent. They don't see anything. Most of the applications are connected to the LDAP directory now. So it means you have only one password, user and password for most of them. Then you have a way for user to modify their own data. And the modification goes directly through the web service, through the LDAP server. So you have people can manage some of them data. And of course, for the management team, they have only one interface to manage everything. So that's a real bonus. You have to just manage user in one place, and you can modify, deactivate, activate directly from one interface. And that's just a page on the web services, because it's used more and more, because people sometimes don't want to use the FusionDirectory interface, and they want to use their own tool to provision the LDAP server. But in the old ways, people were making script and everything that could break in horrible ways, because they want to provision, so they write themselves, oh, I will do it myself, and I will write stuff, and it will push directly to my LDAP server. But most of the time, you can have crash, non-valid information, and stuff like that. So the idea is that the web services create the object like it does if you go to the interface. We have a whole system of ACL that's not depending on your LDAP server, but from the application itself, from FusionDirectory itself, so you can restrict what people can do. Then you have models. Models and templates works through the web services, so you can say, okay, create my participant this type through the web services, and just it will fill. And then it's very basic. It's JSON RPC call, so anybody with some basic knowledge can write a page to create stuff directly with the web services. And then in the future, extend everything toward an SSO, like Clément said, put a LMNL DAP in front, so you will log only once. FusionDirectory already supports several SSO services, LMNL DAP, CAS, classical HTTP header, and stuff like that. Move more of the infrastructure inside FusionDirectory, because FusionDirectory is not only to manage user groups and stuff like that. Maybe we can manage DNS, DHCP, mail, SSH, sudo, so you can manage the whole infrastructure from one point. And then you have the role formalization and usage. That's not, there is no formalization, no rule for that. So Fusion Directory helps you to formalize roles. Mostly we use that with web application, have an editor role, an administrator role, and reviewer role, and stuff like that. But most of the time, the issue is that it's application specific. So most of the application, I will say, more than 50% have awful LDAP connector, even in paid version, because they were made only to manage groups. So they manage POSIX groups, they manage group of name groups, classical Active Directory groups, but they have fixed filter, it's broken. So most of the work we have to do is go to those projects. If they are open source, we can tell them, okay, your connector is broken, it has a patch, please fix your connector. We have done that for several software already. But if you are in the proprietary world, it's very difficult to discuss with the guy saying, okay, it's broken. No, yes, no, yes. And then you can go like that for years. And then that's the last sentence. We hope to be able to fix those kind of issues. There is some way of doing it, but it will not be automatic. And that's the important URL when you can demo the software, look at the software, download it to install it, and my contacts are in the bottom. That's all for me.